So I've decided to take the opportunity to make this video about an unusual or strange electromagnetic phenomena of more than a handful that I've experienced here in Ann Arbor, Michigan, between the Shelter Association of Washtenaw County, Delanus Shelter Center, and various public commons of the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. Uh, so this particular electromagnetic phenomena has to do with photons. So I'm not an authority on any science, for that matter, let alone the science that would apply to photons or electromagnetic energy. But I do conduct study about the subject, rigorous study. So, and some of the results of that study I post on my Facebook, as well as proofs such as videos like this. So moving on, I often come to this particular commons that I'm at now to study. It's a well endowed and appropriate place for learning. It has a lot of state of the art electronic devices, including this LED lamp here that I'm featuring in the video. And I thought I'd conduct a small test, real simple. What I did was, here's my arm, and then I turn this around, and I just sat here for 10 minutes while this was exposed to the inner part of my forearm. And as I sat here with this LED photon exposure consistent, I started to experience the need to urinate and the need to, or the urge to urinate and the urge to defecate. But I've already conducted those necessity functions before I came up here to sit down and study. So though I felt the urge to conduct both basic biological functions significantly and intensely while this light was beaming on the inner part of my forearm, I wasn't able to actually follow through with relieving myself because that had already been done. I think, and then I realized that this was a significant phenomenon for me to video because I experienced a similar situation months ago in which I was standing in front of the Ann Arbor Transit Authority bus station, city bus downtown Ann Arbor, Michigan. And it was early in the morning, and a police officer that I recognized by the name of Officer Pitt was the passenger in an SUV police vehicle with another driver. And they drove up into the I guess you would call it the bus terminal parking strip. While I was there alone, I was there sitting on their bench charging one of my devices, and the driver of that vehicle, I don't remember that officer's name. He shined his strobe light, the one that's attached to law enforcement vehicle doors, very powerful, very strong, in my face. And he held it there for about 10 seconds. And then that's when he stopped. That's when I recognized Officer Pitt, and they asked me if I was all right. I said I'm fine, and they drove off. And then I thought that was strange, and so then immediately afterwards, I had this extreme urgency to urinate beyond my control. I'm 40 years old. I've never experienced that my whole life. And I ended up urinating on myself, and I made a video about it. And because I've experienced other strange electromagnetic phenomenon here in Ann Arbor, Michigan, I apprehended harm. So I went afterwards, early that morning, to file a police report about the circumstance, and then an investigation was conducted, and then there wasn't any significant findings by the inner police department, investigation department personnel. I have a copy of that investigation and the resolution or closing of it in paper form, so maybe I'll upload that with this video. But at the beginning of the investigation, I spoke to an officer that I had encountered once before by the name of Sergeant Mesger. And she asked me in an informal interview about the circumstance, what instrument do I think the police officers used that would have made me urinate on myself? And I told her I don't know. And I think as part of her resolution of the investigation, she wrote in the report that, to that effect, that there aren't any instruments that police have that would make someone urinate on themselves beyond their control. She also told me that as well to my face the day of the interview for the investigation. But I've consistently experienced other situations of a similar phenomenon in which I appear to be very sensitive and have visual manifestations of reactions on my skin, my central nervous system, my endocrine system, when in saturated environments of electromagnetic energy, such as Wi-Fi, radio frequency energy, which is a form of radiation. This camera doesn't have, this app doesn't have zoom, but right there is a 4 antenna prong Wi-Fi radio emitter, and so it emits the Wi-Fi signal in this portion of this very large and impressive facility. But if something that large or that powerful was in a smaller room, and I was in that smaller room, then the concentration of the space of Wi-Fi radio frequency energy would be higher, and I may actually produce or experience some type of reaction, of which I've never had a problem with up until most recently within my 40s, and eating food at the Delana Shelter Center here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And some of that food I've taken scanner photo shots of, and it seems to reveal electromagnetic energy. When I do that, that gives the scanner a hard time to render the color that it normally would for spaces and objects that would not be in such a saturated high electromagnetic energy environment or electromagnetic field. And so that is one way that you can use a scanner in addition to scanning documents. And the neat thing about smart devices is it makes that scanner ability portable. Scanners are very highly sensitive. They're tuned to be highly sensitive to electrons, um, electromagnetic energy. They can actually detect not only visual light, um, but how would you say, more concentrated forms of electromagnetic energy. And it's been my experience that they can detect up through um, the microwave energy range, and possibly the beta and gamma energy range. You just have to gain experience in understanding what it is that you're taking a picture of, the environment that it's in, the possible catalysts or contributors to the electromagnetic energy of that substance, and the space and the field that might be governing the electromagnetic field that might be governing the space that that object is in that you're trying to scan. But once you gain that experience, you can be a good judge of what grade and concentration and power of electromagnetic energy that the scanner is basically being disrupted in its function to render the image fully in color. And then I've also been able to cross-reference or confirm that the scanner's ability with another app that uses the electromagnetic sensor of some smart devices that have them, such as this one that I'm making this video with, to detect significant fields of electromagnetic radiation. You might have seen those in previous videos. It'll start beeping red with dots and all that. So I've made videos and taken pictures of my shower space experience at the Delana Shelter Center here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And with the scanner, I've detected these strange electromagnetic phenomenon. They seem to be more concentrated at the base of the floor where the drain is. And then they also seem to reflect a distinctive reaction to the light above in the shower stall that I don't normally meet with other lights, such as this one. If you see here, if I take a scanner shot of that, there's no color distortion. Even though the photon energy of an LED light source is considerably rich with electromagnetic energy, as opposed to some other dated light form or light sources. But primarily within the electricity range and the visual light range. So here, it would be my experience that this Google Drive scanner app is not detecting electromagnetic energy beyond the visual light range, which would include radio frequency radiation, then graduate to microwave radiation, and then graduate further to ultraviolet radiation, which also includes some X-ray forms of radiation, and then ultimately to gamma radiation, which is what the sun produces, and X-ray. What do you call those? CAT scan machines produce. So, we're not meeting with any strange phenomenon here about this light. And then here's my magnetometer, and it's not beeping. It's not showing a high number. I've noticed from using this that the high radiation range of extreme that it seems to be capable of detecting. Gives off numbers between 200 and I think 350, maybe a little higher than that, but here very low. Um, and I'm moving the sensor all around this light. Apparently, the electromagnetic sensor in this device is on the far left, top left side of this phone. So that's why sometimes when you see my videos, the camera will be slightly skewed from the object to the right because I'm trying to touch the object in question with the top left corner of the device where the sensitive magnetic energy component apparently is built in this device, so smartphone. So all around this source, though this is a rich electricity source, from what I understand about LED light, it doesn't even so much as detect enough electromagnetic radiation to suggest that there's a significantly powerful electronic device nearby, such as a camera or a television, all of which give off ranges of electromagnetic energy. Some cameras have lenses that are coated with high-powered radiation, such as I believe a thallium coating. But they're used, for industrial purposes and specialized photography. But in a research town like Ann Arbor, Michigan, sometimes the appropriate use of technology is not held to by the strictest practice and standards, and can be abused. So I'm an artist. I play the violin. I studied the classics, European classics extensively. I do not have an orthodox collegial background in science, but I am developing it as I'm trying to understand my condition and the electromagnetic phenomenon that I'm experiencing or have been experiencing consistently for the past year. All right, so I don't want to ramble on here. Let's go back to this. It would be my very humble observation that apparently, though my device here does not find anything significantly powerful about the quality of the light that's being emitted from this LED lamp, I am apparently significantly sensitive, even to this lower form of electromagnetic energy in the form of photons produced by electricity. And I believe that it has something to do with the treatment or adulteration of the food that I've been eating and served at the Delana Shelter Center. It's the primary place where I eat. I go out of my way now not to eat anywhere else because I've been watching my condition comparative to what I eat and where I eat. The only thing I can come up with as an explanation for the shower phenomenon there is that maybe there is some type of natural gas leak and or radon gas leak that is suctioned by a vacuum formation from the foundation of the building through the drainage pipe, and it comes up into the shower. Just by nature of the way drains work and plumbing and piping. But I've also read about radon gas, which Ann Arbor seems to distinctively have a problem with and a saturation of, that it can be released in the water from an area or a foundation, a bedrock that has a high concentration of radon gas. Radon gas is a radioactive gas. It produces other radioactive isotopes or substances that are called radon daughters. They have a significantly longer half-life, depending upon which one and which stage of reaction that the radon gas transforms to and through. And so I do find that sometimes my clothing that I had sitting in the shower stall with me while I was taking a shower will produce a strange electromagnetic reading when I use the Google Drive scanner app to take a scanner shot of it. I've posted pictures and videos of that phenomenon, as well as the food that I've eaten at the Delana Shelter Center. Another possibility could be tritium, I believe, tritium or tritium. It is a radioactive gas isotope of hydrogen. Hydrogen is the strongest bond or makes the strongest bond with water because water is composed primarily of hydrogen. And so something like that, something that has a strong water bond can attach itself to almost anything because everything is made up to some extent of water. But the more natural the substance or material is, the more water content it will have. So if it's a wool hat or a wool coat, then electromagnetic radioactive gas like tritium or tritium could, easily attach itself to that material. And then it would take whatever the amount of time is prescribed for its half-life to dissipate from its most active potency of radioactive power. Tritium is a problem some places. I'll have to conduct more research to find out if it's a problem here. Most likely it is because it has been established that Ann Arbor has a significant concentration of radon gas. And so, radioisotopes tend to exist or coexist with one another because they both are considered unstable to a significant degree. And, radioactive substances are considered unstable. And so, scientifically. And so, they share that quality. Therefore, they're more likely to share the same atmosphere that would support their unstable nature. And so that's why tritium is a possibility as well, because with radon, my understanding is the radioactive substances and particles, including the radon gas and the isotopes that it transforms into, have to be dispersed. They have to be carried, primarily with dust, and settle on materials. and there has to be a significant concentration of dust for a significant amount of radioactive material to settle on materials. And so in a shower stall, that's not likely the case, being that the water is warm and running. Any impurification in the air, will be pulled down to the ground by water molecules, and won't have much of an opportunity to attach to materials, especially in the case in which the Delina Shelter Center showers are set up, because they have like a small little vestibule in the stall that separates a chair, which I put my belongings on, from the actual shower stall, which also has a plastic cover. So there's like a barrier between the actual shower stall and the vestibule of the shower stall. So to me, that physical necessity of how radon is known to leave radioactive material on substances would negate the higher probability that the electromagnetic energy that I'm experiencing in the Delina Shelter Center shower stalls and is in fact from a source of radon gas. But from experience in using my Google Scanner app and scanning environments as well as objects of various kinds and constructions, I would say that it is my current belief that my scanner app is detecting electromagnetically charged gas in the shower stall, and not, for example, some form of light, electromagnetic light. I don't believe that they would have some strong electromagnetically charged light bulb in these shower stalls at the Delina Shelter Center. And then I guess lastly, I won't develop too much on my leading research, but I will present a theory that it is possible that not only can this gas, radioactive gas, whatever it is, and the Delina Shelter Center shower stalls be contaminating not only the water that hits the human body, such as mine, and then could possibly, very easily contaminate the skin through the pores, but also, settle on clothing, especially if it's tritium or tritium that has a hydrogen bomb affinity to natural materials. That it could also be contaminating the food source that is served to the homeless in Ann Arbor, Michigan at the Delina Shelter Center, which could also explain the strange electromagnetic disturbances that my scanner app detects when I scan food that I've gotten from the Delina Shelter Center. And so if contaminated food is ingested, contaminated with, electromagnetic radioactive gas, for example, then the ingestion of that food will digest and could also possibly leave behind radioactive substances in the bloodstream, in bodily organs, that possibly someone such as a researcher or law enforcement working with researchers could exploit with some type of electronic devices to single out, for example, homeless people who have eaten and showered at a place such as the Delina Shelter Center. And they could do this by detecting, a radio signal that's given off from the bodies and the clothing of people who have eaten and showered at the Delana Shelter Center who have also experienced this strange phenomenon. And so the motive or practicality of that would be, when you have a small city like Ann Arbor with a high density, not only of professionals, but primarily of students, it could make law enforcement's job easier to profile as they normally do, as is often prescribed in their training and prescription of